Okay, so today we're diving into a pretty dark chapter in Seattle's history.
Yeah, this one's going to be tough.
Yeah, March 25th, 2006. We're talking about the Capitol Hill neighborhood, specifically what came to be known as the Capitol Hill Massacre.
Right. And we've got a whole collection of articles and reports.
Yeah.
And we really want to make sure that you, the listener, come away with a
Sure.
solid understanding of
Yeah.
the facts, the timeline,
Yeah.
and all the different theories or explanations people have tried to put forward to make sense of it all.
Right.
Because this is a really
Yeah.
just a profound tragedy.
Okay, so let's...
And it's important to remember
Yeah.
as we go through all this
Yeah.
that, real people lost their lives.
Of course. Yeah, and I think that's going to be a big part of,
Right.
why this event is so significant is because of the scale of it.
Yeah.
So let's just start with the basics.
Okay.
What happened? March 25th, 2006. Saturday morning. Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood.
Right.
A house party at 2112 East Republican Street
Mm-hmm.
becomes the site of this horrific mass shooting that we're talking about.
Yeah, and it ends up being classified as a murder-suicide.
Right, because the perpetrator takes his own life at the end.
The guy responsible was 28 years old,
Yeah.
Kyle Aaron Huff,
Kyle Aaron Huff.
and unfortunately 6 people died at the scene,
Wow.
and a 7th person died later from their injuries.
So 7 fatalities
Yeah.
in total.
2 other people were wounded but survived.
Okay, so we're talking about a mass casualty event here.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
we should really say their names.
It makes
because
sense.
these are the people at the heart of this.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Melissa Moore.
Okay.
She was only 14 years old.
Mhm.
They called her China Doll.
Oh, gosh.
Suzanne Thorne, who was 15. Justin Schwartz, known as Sushi.
Hmm.
He was 22. Christopher Williamson,
Okay.
he went by Deacon, 21. Jeremy Martin, 26.
Okay.
And Jason Travers, who's 32.
And then the 2 injured.
Yeah, we know that Kian Movasagi, who was 18, was one of them.
Okay.
And there was another teenager whose name was never released.
Okay.
So,
And you said there were, multiple firearms involved.
oh yeah,
Which is what makes this, like, a really, truly scary event.
absolutely, because
Yeah.
it really points to
Yeah.
a level of premeditation.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment thing.
Right.
So he had a Winchester 1300 Defender,
Okay.
which is a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun.
Wow.
And he also had a Ruger P944,
Okay.
which is a .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun.
So 2 handguns
Yeah.
or 2 firearms.
And then later on, they found even more in his truck.
Oh, wow.
They found a Bushmaster XM15 E2S,
Okay.
which is a semi-automatic rifle.
It's like an AR-15 style rifle.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then they found another handgun, and they found a ton of ammunition,
Oh, my God.
like hundreds of rounds,
Wow.
like over 300
Yeah.
initially, and then even more in the truck and at his apartment. And they found other stuff, too,
Okay.
like a baseball bat and a machete.
So he came ready for something really bad.
It's really frightening
Yeah.
to think about.
Okay, so let's break down the timeline here because I think that's really going to help people
Yeah.
understand the flow of events.
Okay, so the party that this happened at was an after party
Okay.
for a rave
Mm.
that had been at the Capitol Hill Arts Center.
Okay.
It was called Better Off Undead.
So like a zombie theme or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So the party's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and at some point, Huff shows up.
Okay.
And some people said he actually came in at first like he wasn't aggressive.
Oh, wow.
He was just kind of there.
So he was at the party for a little bit?
Yeah, but then he left,
Okay.
and that's when things get really disturbing.
Okay.
He went and got his weapons,
Oh, wow.
and then he came back.
Oh, gosh.
But before he went back in,
Yeah.
he spray painted the word NW.
NW.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the sidewalk and on a house nearby.
Like in big letters?
Yeah. Okay. And then he forced his way back into the house.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so this is where it like really turns violent.
This is where the nightmare really begins.
Yeah. Okay.
He just starts shooting immediately.
Wow.
Some people said, he even said something like,
Like what?
there's plenty for everyone,
Oh, my gosh.
which is just horrifying to think about.
Yeah, like he was prepared to kill everybody.
Exactly.
Oh, my gosh.
And he was shooting on the first and second floor of the house.
Wow.
There was even a couple that hid in a bathroom,
Oh, God.
and he fired through the door.
Oh, my gosh.
Thankfully, they weren't hit.
That's so scary.
It's just unbelievable.
And how long did this all last?
The whole thing inside the house was only about 5 minutes.
So just like a
Yeah, it was a very short
Wow.
burst of violence.
That's terrifying.
And it's actually pretty remarkable how quickly the police got there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a patrol officer, Steve Leonard,
Okay.
who was in the area, and he heard the 911 calls,
Mm-hmm.
and he got there really fast.
Okay.
He saw someone who was injured outside,
Oh, gosh.
and then he saw Huff coming down the porch steps.
Okay.
And before Officer Leonard could even tell him to drop his weapon,
Yeah.
Huff shot himself right there on the porch.
Wow.
It's a tragic end to a horrific series of events.
So now we have to try to understand this guy, Kyle Aaron Huff.
Right, like who was he?
Yeah.
What led him to do this?
Exactly. And it's tough because his background is kind of a puzzle.
Yeah, it's really fragmented.
Yeah.
He said he went to the Art Institute of Seattle
Okay.
and North Seattle Community College,
Uh-huh.
but neither of those schools have any record of him.
So he's lying about that.
It makes you wonder,
Why would he lie about that?
right? Like, was he trying to present a certain image of himself?
It's really strange.
It's very odd.
Okay, so that's weird.
Yeah.
What else do we know?
Well, we know he got arrested back in his hometown,
Okay.
Whitefish, Montana,
Montana, okay.
and it was for destroying a piece of public art.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a statue of a moose,
A moose, okay.
part of this art installation called Moose on the Loose.
Moose on the loose, so like a, touristy thing.
Right.
Okay.
And he was initially charged with a felony for that.
A felony, wow.
Yeah, but then it got reduced to a misdemeanor.
Oh, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Well, that's the thing. The reduction is actually really important
Okay, why?
because if he'd been convicted of a felony,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been allowed to own guns.
Oh, I see, okay.
He bought all those weapons legally in Montana,
Mm-hmm.
and they were taken away from him after that moose incident,
Right.
but they were given back to him once he paid some money.
Wow.
So you can see how that change in the legal system
Yeah.
had huge consequences
Yeah.
that nobody could have foreseen.
Right, like a butterfly effect?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it really makes you think about gun control
Yeah.
and how hard it is to know who might be a danger in the future.
Like a background check wouldn't have caught this.
No, because he didn't have a felony on his record.
Wow. Okay, so he clearly had these issues.
Yeah, but there's no easy answer here.
Yeah. Okay, so what about this connection to the rave scene?
Well, that's another thing that's not so clear-cut.
Okay.
We know he targeted this after party for a rave.
Right.
But it doesn't seem like he was deeply involved in that scene himself.
Oh, okay.
There was an email from someone using his email address
Uh-huh.
asking about upcoming raves a few weeks before the shooting.
So, like, maybe he was just getting into it?
Yeah, it seems like his interest was pretty new and maybe not that serious.
Okay.
And there's another piece of information that's kind of sad.
Okay, what's that?
In the weeks leading up to the massacre,
Yeah.
he was trying to date this woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he sent her flowers and left her messages.
Oh, okay.
But she basically told him she wasn't interested.
Hmm. Oh, wow.
Now, obviously, this doesn't excuse what he did,
Of course not.
but it does give you a little insight into his mindset.
Like he was maybe feeling rejected?
Yeah, maybe lonely or desperate.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all really interesting and really sad.
It is.
But I think the big question everyone's wondering is, why?
Right, what was his motive?
Yeah.
And that's what's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Because right after the shooting,
Yeah.
all they could say was unknown motive.
So they didn't know why?
Nope.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy.
And that just led to a lot of speculation and fear.
Of course, like,
Yeah.
was there going to be another attack?
Right. People were scared.
Okay, so did they ever figure out why?
Well, about a month after the shooting,
Okay.
something really important happened.
Okay.
The manager of an apartment complex near Huff's place
Uh-huh.
called the police because he found something suspicious in a dumpster.
Oh, wow.
He thought it might be a bomb.
Oh, my God.
It turned out to be harmless.
Okay.
But when they were searching the dumpster,
Yeah.
they found a handwritten note,
Okay.
and they thought it might be from Huff.
And was it?
Well, they sent it to the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab to
That
make
makes sense.
sure.
And they said it was highly probable that the letter was real.
Oh, wow.
The paper it was written on was from his apartment complex,
Okay.
and the handwriting matched other samples they had.
Like what?
They had a job application he filled out
Oh, wow.
that the Stranger newspaper got.
Interesting.
So they were pretty sure it was his.
Okay, so what did the letter say?
Well, it was dated just 2 days before the killings,
Oh, wow.
and it's really disturbing.
Like what?
He was so angry at young ravers. Yeah, he called their lifestyle provocative.
Provocative.
How? He specifically mentioned their sexual freedom.
Okay.
He said their actions and words were just too much for him to handle.
Like he couldn't take it.
Right. and he said he had to do something about it.
Oh, God.
He even said something about hippie stuff needing to end.
Oh, wow. So he was really fixated on this idea that their lifestyle was wrong.
Yeah, it's like he felt morally superior.
Right.
And the scariest part is that he ended the letter with, "Now, kids, now."
And he wrote "now" at the scene, too. So that shows he was planning this.
Yeah, it wasn't just a random outburst.
Oh.
This was a planned attack fueled by hate.
So what happened after the shooting, like in terms of the investigation?
Well, the police kept investigating.
Okay.
They had a panel led by this criminologist, James Allen Fox,
Okay.
and they found out that Huff might have been planning this since February.
February. Wow. So like 2 months.
At least. He was looking at rave events online, and he was even watching people at this club Studio 7.
Like going there and watching?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they found even more weapons and ammo at his apartment.
So he was really stockpiling.
Yeah, like he was preparing for something big.
Oh, gosh. That's scary.
And they questioned his twin brother.
Oh, wow. He had a twin.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they let him go because there was no sign that he knew about any of this.
Okay. Good.
And the media was all over this story.
Yeah.
The Seattle Times wanted stricter rules for late-night events and teen dances.
A risk.
Yeah, they even said that the victims' drug and alcohol use played a role.
Oh, wow. That's blaming the victims.
Yeah, it was really controversial.
I bet.
But The Stranger, which is a more alternative paper,
Okay.
they argue that all ages dances were actually safer.
Oh, right. Like supervised.
Exactly.
Okay.
They said it was better than kids partying at unsupervised house parties.
That makes sense.
And they pointed out that the event at the Capitol Hill Arts Center did have security.
Right.
So there were very different reactions to this tragedy.
Yeah, like how do you prevent something like this?
Right.
Do you crack down on everything or do you try to make things safer?
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
And the city officials were kind of in the middle.
Okay.
The mayor, Greg Nichols, said it was all about Huff's individual choice to kill,
Okay.
not about the event itself.
That's an important distinction.
It is.
But then you have someone like Sandra Williamson,
Yeah.
who's the mother of Christopher Williamson,
Yeah.
one of the victims.
And she actually said she still supported rave events, which is really powerful.
Yeah, like even after losing her son, she didn't want to blame the whole scene.
Exactly.
And we should also talk about the teen dance ordinance,
Right.
because that's kind of relevant here.
Definitely.
So before this happened, Seattle had gotten rid of a really strict TDO
Yeah.
and replaced it with a more relaxed all-ages dance ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
And this musician, Ben Schroeder, said that the ADO actually made things safer
Interesting.
because it allowed for more legitimate dance events.
Okay.
So instead of having these risky underground raves,
Yeah.
there were more controlled venues.
Right.
Like CAC and the VRAI project.
Yeah, those are good examples.
So he thought that was an improvement.
He did.
Okay, so it sounds like there were a lot of different perspectives on this.
Yeah, for sure.
But ultimately, this was a horrific tragedy.
Absolutely.
And it really shook the community.
It did.
They even had an interfaith prayer service at the house.
Yeah, over 500 people came.
Wow.
It was a way for people to come together and grieve.
Yeah, and try to heal.
And sadly, this is still the worst mass killing in Seattle since the Wami Massacre back in 1983.
Wow.
It's a reminder that these kinds of things can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
And for those who are interested in how this event has been portrayed in art, there's a film from 2019 called Wallflower
Okay.
that's loosely based on this story.
Interesting.
It shows how these events can really stay with us
Yeah.
and continue to impact our culture.
So let's just take a minute to recap everything we've talked about.
Okay.
We started with that horrible morning in March 2006.
Right.
We talked about Kyle Aaron Huff and what we know about him.
Yeah.
We read parts of his disturbing letter
Mm-hmm.
where he talks about his hatred for ravers.
And how he felt like he had to do something about it.
Right.
It's chilling.
Yeah.
And we talk about all the different reactions to the shooting
Yeah.
and the debates about how to prevent something like this from happening again.
Right.
It's complicated.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about. Okay.
Knowing everything we've discussed today,
Yeah.
how do you think this event reflects on the way society views subcultures?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And how do we balance individual freedoms
Mm-hmm.
with the need to prevent violence?
All right.
And is there even a way to predict these kinds of random acts?
These are tough questions.
Yeah, they are.
And I think they're worth wrestling with.
I agree.
This event raises so many important issues.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
But I hope this deep dive has given you some new insights.
I hope so too.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
It's been a really important conversation,
Yeah.
even if it's been a tough one.
Okay, see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.